Let's talk about something we've all felt, that feeling like you're your own worst enemy. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of self-sabotage. We're going to break down why we knowingly act against our own best interests and, most importantly, lay out a practical path to actually stop it. This is all based on the incredible work of performance psychologist Dr. Brett Steenbarger. So let's get right into it.
You know the drill, right? You set a goal, you make a solid plan, you're feeling motivated, and then somehow you find yourself doing the exact opposite of what you planned. It is so frustrating, it's confusing, and honestly, it can feel like there are two totally different people living inside your head. So what is really going on here? To crack this puzzle open, let's look at a couple of really powerful case studies from Dr. Steenbarger's work. These really highlight the mystery we're all trying to solve.
Okay, so picture this first case. A successful woman. She's got her professional life totally dialed in, she's committed to being healthy, but then she finds herself secretly binging on junk food, an act that just completely undermines her goals and leaves her feeling awful and guilty.
And this isn't just some random one-off thing. Or get this, a happily married man, stable family life, good job, but he feels this compulsive, overwhelming urge to secretly drive to casinos and just gamble away his family's money. He's filled with regret, he swears he'll stop, but that destructive cycle just keeps on spinning.
And this right here, this brings us to the million-dollar question. These aren't people who don't know any better. They're smart, capable individuals who find themselves trapped in a pattern they just can't seem to break. It feels totally irrational. But as we're about to find out, there's a deep psychological reason for all of it.
To solve this mystery, we need a whole new way of looking at it. The problem isn't a lack of willpower. It's a conflict between two different parts of ourselves. So, it's time to meet your other self. Psychiatrist Dr. Arnold Goldberg has a name for this, the vertical split. And that word vertical is super important because it suggests this other self isn't buried deep in our subconscious somewhere. No, it exists right alongside our conscious self. It's always there. And this isn't some rare disorder. It's basically where we stash all the impulses we try to push away. The anger, the cravings, the urge to procrastinate. So on one side, you have your conscious self. This is the you that you know, controlled, consistent, the one you identify with. But on the other side is the split-off self. This one is under-controlled, inconsistent, and totally compulsive. This part feels alien, which is exactly why, after we do something we regret, we so often say, "I don't know what happened. That just wasn't me."
And this just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? This is what it feels like, a constant battle raging inside. You've got the good self that makes all those New Year's resolutions, and then you've got the bad self that's ordering a pizza on January 2nd. And it seems like the more you try to fight that bad self, the stronger it gets.
Okay, so we've identified the two warring factions inside our own minds. But how does this battle actually play out? Well, it turns out there's a predictable four-step cycle that leads straight to self-sabotage every single time.
It all kicks off with a trigger, a feeling like boredom, stress, or maybe fear. This trigger causes a state shift, a sudden, uncomfortable change in how you feel emotionally and mentally. To escape that awful feeling, you engage in the unwanted behavior, which is almost immediately followed by the consequence: guilt, shame, and regret. Round and round we go. And right here, this is the crucial insight. This is the big aha moment of this whole thing. That self-destructive act, it's not random. Binging, gambling, procrastinating, it's a desperate but totally flawed attempt to cope with that uncomfortable feeling from the state shift. It's an attempt at self-regulation.
You know, understanding that one simple fact changes everything. If the problem isn't a bad self, but just a bad coping strategy, then the solution isn't to fight ourselves, it's to find a better way to manage our emotional states.
This quote from Dr. Steenbarger is the absolute key. Every unwanted behavior, every act of that bad self, is really just an effort to escape a negative feeling. It's serving a purpose, even if that purpose is ultimately destructive. It's trying to help in a very misguided way. And that leads us to the single most important takeaway here. Real lasting control doesn't come from more willpower or from trying to wrestle your impulses into submission. It comes from going all the way back to step one of that cycle and neutralizing the triggers that set the whole destructive chain reaction in motion.
Okay, so that's the theory. Awesome. But how do we actually do this? Let's get practical. We're going to walk through 3 powerful techniques you can start using right now to reprocess your triggers.
First up is exposure therapy. Now, this is one of the most effective, research-backed methods out there for dealing with things like anxiety and fear. The goal is simple: to systematically desensitize yourself to your triggers so they just don't have that power over you anymore.
So here's how it works. Let's imagine a trader whose trigger is boredom, which leads them to make impulsive, sloppy trades just for the action. Using exposure, they would intentionally sit with that feeling of boredom without placing a trade. They'd practice staying calm, maybe using deep breathing, until that urge to act just fades away. You repeat this, and over time the trigger, boredom, loses its emotional punch. It becomes just bored.
The next technique is all about proactively practicing the new behavior you want to install. It's called high concentration rehearsal. So the first step is to get into a state of really high focus, almost like a deep meditative state. Once you're in that zone, you vividly imagine the exact situation that normally triggers you. But, and here's the key, instead of letting the old pattern play out, you mentally rehearse a new response. You watch yourself like a movie, executing your desired plan calmly and successfully. You are literally building a new mental blueprint for success.
Finally, let's look at a technique called anchoring. This is all about physically linking a desired behavior to a peak emotional state so you can call on that motivation whenever you need it.
This process is so powerful. Let's say your goal is to stop procrastinating on a big project. You'd start by creating a unique, high-energy state, maybe by doing a quick set of push-ups or jumping jacks. Then, at the absolute peak of that physical energy, you vividly rehearse your plan to sit down and work. This forges a link. Later in the day, when you feel that urge to procrastinate, you can do a few quick push-ups at your desk to instantly reactivate that energized, motivated state and bring your plan right back to the front of your mind.
Look, the big takeaway here is simple, but it is profound. If you want to stop self-sabotage, stop beating yourself up. Stop trying to force change with brute force willpower. That's like trying to push a giant boulder uphill forever. The real path to lasting change is to go after the root cause, systematically identifying and reprocessing the triggers that set you off in the first place.
This isn't just interesting theory, it's a practical roadmap to taking back control. So I'm going to leave you with this question. What's the first trigger you're going to reprocess? Is it boredom? Is it stress? Fear of missing out? Just identifying it, that's the first step. That's where real change begins.